Hey guys, it's Rosegroom97 here, and doing a new creepypasta here. I got some very good feedback on the last one I did, which was the creepypasta cupcakes, which was kind of disturbing. So I'm here starting a new one. I'm not going to give the title of it right away, because, if I say it, it usually ruins it. So I'm just going to read it, and then I'll give the title afterwards. Link to the description will be under the video, like I usually have it. So let's just get right into this. Does anyone remember the Spongebob episode, The Sponge Who Could Fly? That aired in March 2003. It was dubbed The Lost Episode by its commercials based on the episode's storyline, where Patchy the pirate uses a treasure map to find the Spongebob episode that he lost. That night before the episode was aired, I was sick and with a stomach flu. I was feeling too ill to fall asleep, so I stayed up and watched TV. Around 2:30 a.m., my stomach started to settle, so I planned to turn off the TV and try to fall asleep. But as I was reaching for the remote control, the opening for Spongebob started playing. Spongebob was my favorite show at that time, so I couldn't miss out on watching it. Although I thought it was kind of strange that they were showing Spongebob in the middle of the night, but I didn't think much of it. When the opening played, I noticed that the contrast of the animation was slightly darker than usual, and the theme song sounded a bit harsh and raspy. This made me feel a little uncomfortable, but I also tried brushing that off. The title card read, Lost Episode. So I figured that was a mishap on Nickelodeon and accidentally airing The Sponge Who Could Fly. When the episode started playing, it immediately looked out of the ordinary. It started off with Spongebob sitting on his bed, slouched and looking downward and with a somber look on his face. This was definitely not like himself. Spongebob is so optimistic all the time. Why would he be acting like this? After about 10 seconds of seeing Spongebob like this, he let out a big sigh and looked over to his bedside barrel, and the screen zoomed in on a pill bottle that was sitting beside his clock. Once the screen zoomed in close enough to read the text on the bottle, it showed that it was a Prozac bottle. The show that panned to a scene with a much brighter contrast showing Spongebob taking one of the pills, then running off smiling and laughing. The fact that Spongebob had to take pills to be, himself, made me feel real uneasy. Especially because mental disorders and antidepressants are more mature themes and obviously shouldn't find a place in any kids' cartoon. It should be noted that this was seen on a show intended for kids. The screen then flipped back to the original scene of SpongeBob looking distressed, while at the same time changing the contrast back to the darker one. The screen froze on SpongeBob for a few seconds, then flickered to a new scene. This scene showed SpongeBob at his desk, the same desk that he used on the episode Procrastination, but this had the Prozac bottle and a piece of paper and pencil. In this scene, instead of staying at one contrast, the colors kept on flickering from light to dark. SpongeBob gripped the pencil in his hand and a tear rolled down his face. The part that bothered me the most was that the tear didn't look like the usual blue, cartoon-style tears that characters in SpongeBob usually cry out. This tear looked completely realistic, as if there had been a drop of water rolling down my TV from his eye. SpongeBob wiped the tear from his face with his sleeve and began to write on the paper, reading out loud what he was writing. "I can't take it anymore," he said. As soon as he got the sentence out, a faint noise started playing in the background. It sounded like a child crying. This noise continued playing as SpongeBob continued writing. "My life has been horrible and hasn't gotten better. My best friend, Patrick, is my only best friend because he doesn't know any better. My neighbor, Squidward, hates my guts. He would probably be happy if I wasn't around anymore." SpongeBob stopped writing and talking and started weeping loudly. The color flickering starting getting faster. and the cries in the background started getting louder, and it sounded like more children were beginning to cry. It could have just been my imagination, but I remember hearing one of the children very faintly yell, "He's gonna do it." The children's cries get louder, and the colors keep flickering faster as SpongeBob keeps writing. "The only job I can get is being the fry cook at the Krusty Krab. My boss, Mr. Krabs, refuses to give me an actual paycheck, and he basically uses me to get more customers. I'm in my 20s, and I still don't have my driver's license. Sandy is the only girl I've ever had in my life, and even she's just a friend. She's never had any interest in me. I'm pretty sure she's only my friend because she feels sorry for me. I'm sorry if I'm hurting anyone at all for doing this, but I just can't live like this anymore." The screen froze for a few seconds. Then the show continued with SpongeBob writing his final sentence. The contrast stayed dark instead of flickering from light to dark, and the children stopped crying. It was absolute silence except for SpongeBob saying goodbye. The cries came back. SpongeBob quickly stood up, twisted off the lid on the Prozac bottle, dipped his head back, let all the pills in the bottle fill into his mouth, and swallowed them all whole. The screen twitched and the animation was darker and still visible. SpongeBob clutched his stomach and vomited realistic, pale orange stomach bile. It was clear that his body was trying to cleanse itself from the overdose, but it was no use. SpongeBob collapsed on the floor and lied there motionless until the screen turned to static. Needless to say, I was scared out of my mind, and sleep was out of the question. Recently, I've been looking for this episode all over the internet, but not even one website seems to have it. If you recognize this episode, or know it, please let me know. Okay. That's the end of the story. Really good story. One of the better ones I've read here lately about SpongeBob, because there's some really bad ones. You know, you got the famous one called Squidward Suicide, which was very good. This is another one that I think was done very well, besides for a few minor errors with it. Like, the one thing I'm tired of with all these, creepypastas is the realistic blah blah blah. I don't know how many creepypastas I've read and heard that they have to say the tears were realistic or super hyper realistic, the blood seemed real dripping off the screen. You just kind of make me not believe it then. You know, if that wasn't in the story here, I could almost believe this actually showed somewhere. But when you sit down and say, you know, the tears seemed like it was rolling off the screen, I kind of lose faith in it might be being a real story. But, besides that, I mean, if you look over the super realistic things, you know, there's a few cliches, because I found out one of the cliches is the low audible laughing, building up to a bigger laugh. I personally like it. I think it's overdone, but if done right, it adds a very uncomfortable feeling. I think how they did it here was kind of right, with SpongeBob being a kid's show, and it feels like these kids are being forced to watch this, and it put kind of goosebumps down my skin when I read it and listened to myself reading it. But other than that, I think it was very well done. Props to whoever wrote this. And, you know, I'll be doing more like this. I got a few more that I've been sitting on that I kind of want to read. One includes Adventure Time. But, you know, guys, this is where I'm going to end this episode. You know, if you liked it, let me know. Tell me if it was good or not. Tell me if you want me to read more SpongeBob. I think there's some good SpongeBob and some bad. You want me to read the bad? I'll read the bad. And, you know, if you got any that you want me to read, or maybe how to make the story even better, how to improve it, you know, leave a comment at the bottom of this video here, and like, comment, subscribe would be much appreciated. Like I always say, you know, how can you keep up with me if you don't follow me? So thank you guys. Have a wonderful day, and that's it. Bye.